Kaged Nation? It is Kevin Jackowitz here with the Kaged Review, and I am about to review SmackDown Live, and this is for the 1st. So Tuesday, May 1st. God, I can't believe it's May already. Last week's I wasn't really impressed with, and honestly, everything lately that they've done has been really subpar when you compare it to Raw. I think Raw, since WrestleMania, has had very stellar shows. Last week they had a little bit of a lull. It was probably like a 5 out of 10. But the Raw after WrestleMania, amazing. The Raw with a Superstar Shakeup, also amazing. And then you have Monday's Raw was really, really good, honestly, I thought. So they had something to live up to, that's for sure. They start out with kind of doing the Greatest Royal Rumble recap, of course. And then Paige comes out and she announces that because Nakamura keeps going for the low blows and AJ lost his cool and the match really got thrown out at the Greatest Royal Rumble, she's making Backlash and no disqualification between these two. So Backlash, Styles, Nakamura, no DQ. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Then the first actual segment you get in the ring is The Miz. He's got Miz TV. And he brings out Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy's been getting a pretty good push. He got some decent pyro coming out at the Greatest Royal Rumble. And that was really cool. It's cool to see him getting this really a lot of attention lately from WWE. So Miz starts asking Jeff Hardy if Jeff is excited about, you know, Miz's prospects, whatever they were. And Hardy's like, is this really why you brought me out here? And Miz is like, well, I also brought somebody else. And he brings out Randy Orton, who is Jeff's opponent at Backlash. And of course, Miz is trying to pit the two against each other. And Randy's like, I have nothing but respect for Jeff Hardy. Blah, blah, blah. And Shelton Benjamin interrupts. And he says that he should have the title shot because he beat Randy Orton. So, of course, things get hairy. They start throwing punches, and at the end of the whole squabble, it's Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy left in the ring. They took care of the other two, and that proceeds to create the match, of course, that you know is going to be coming later. And sure enough, after the break, it's Hardy and Orton versus Benjamin and The Miz. Decent match all around. I don't know if there was anything too spectacular, but the ending was really cool. You get Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton. Obviously, they're going to go over Benjamin and The Miz. And then Randy Orton RKO's Jeff Hardy, of course, because it's Randy Orton and that's his stick. So it was pretty cool, though. It was a really cool gimmick. It was not badly done at all. So that was cool. And then you get Renee interviewing the Iconics. The more I see these two, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, the more I think of the Bella Twins when they first came to WWE. They were very juvenile with the way they acted, the way they talked. It was very high school girly. Not a whole lot entertaining in that for me, personally. I think it's irritating and stupid. And from what I've seen so far, they're not that good in the ring. I have not been impressed yet. So the Iconics, they're doing some spiel. Renee's interviewing them and they're talking about Carmella. And then they tell Renee to leave and Carmella comes out. And so the Iconics are interviewing Carmella. And of course she's doing her shtick. And this is probably the point where I wish I could literally remove my eyes for a few minutes, pull out my eardrums and put them back in later. I'm not a fan of any of these three. I've been very vocal, especially on social media, about how disgusted I am with Carmella being champion. She's not a fucking wrestler, and I say that so much. She's not. And I really think it's a disrespect to the likes of Asuka, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Naomi, that this absolute non-talent has the women's championship. It really does bother me. So, yeah, these three have their interview. My ears and eyes bleed, and then that's that. So, after that, you get the commentators. They're saying that Daniel Bryan, because of what happened at the Greatest Royal Rumble, if you don't know, Roderick Strong kept chopping his chest and blistered the hell out of it. He literally had a bruise all across his entire chest. It looked rough. But, so they held off on Daniel Bryan because they want to be careful. You know, they didn't want to make sure he gets an infection, or they want to let all the clotting stop, which is pretty important. So, Daniel Bryan, not medically cleared to compete on this particular show. I'm quite sure he'll be ready by Backlash, but for this, they said no. After that, you have the Bar and the New Day. They're cutting a promo, and Bar is saying, you know, it was their intention all along to come to SmackDown and run roughshod over the tag team division there. And then they were talking about the match we know we have later with Xavier Woods and Sheamus. And, you know, as far as promos go, this was decent. New Day, sometimes I really like them and they're really funny. Sometimes they're just kind of meh. I don't know. And this one was somewhere in the middle. It didn't really grab my attention too much, but it wasn't horrible. So, after that, you get another promo, third in a row. And this is Rusev. He's talking to Aiden English. And then Lana comes up to him. Aiden steps out for a sec. And Lana's like, basically she says, you need to lose your dead weight. Talking about Aiden English. Then Aiden English comes back and everybody's all smiles. So that'll probably be leading to Rusev dropping Aiden at some point. Which I will say, I do like Lana much better as his valet. She's just really good as a valet. Not the greatest wrestler, but she is a good valet. Big Cass has a segment after that I don't know, Big Cass to me is not the greatest promo guy. He's not terrible, and he has some connection, but I don't know. I'm used to guys that can talk on the mic and really work a mic, and he just seems to lack that ability. Then he brings out a midget dressed up as Daniel Bryan. Of course, it's some guy from, they're in Canada again, so it's some local guy, and he's pandering to the crowd, and then of course Big Cass kicks him in the face at the end. It was actually pretty cheesy. Midget humor is just not funny to me. I mean, how many times can you bring out a midget and have him dressed up like somebody and it still be funny? They've done that so far that the whole shtick is dead. It's funny when you see it the first time, I guess. Like, you know, there's humor to it or whatever. Second time, it's already losing its humor. As many times as WWE has done it and just run it into the ground, it's like, alright guys, come up with something new. After that, Renee interviews AJ Styles in the ring. Huge crowd pop for AJ Styles, of course. Like I said on Monday's review, Americans should feel really bad going to wrestling shows because Saudi Arabia and Canada shows you how to have a hot crowd, how to, you know, really get into it, live in the moment. Crowds in the States, sometimes they're dead. And I'm like, that's half of what makes the show the show. You know, the crowd getting into it, the energy. If there's no energy, you know, what are you there for? So anyway, big crowd pop for AJ Styles. Samoa Joe interrupts him because he was talking about, you know, Nakamura, you know, whether he's a con artist or a cheap shot artist, you can expect him to do something sneaky. So DQ suits them fine. Samoa Joe comes out and says, it doesn't matter who wins, I'm coming for the title next. Then Nakamura's music hits, and it's funny because Samoa Joe turns around, looking like he's ready to fight, back toward Gorilla area, and then Nakamura comes from somewhere and hits AJ with another low blow in the ring. And I like Shinsuke's mannerisms in the ring. I like how he really holds himself and the things he does. It's unique, but it really sells. And it's weird because he is a little bit of an oddball, but that's kind of what makes it appealing in a way. Because he has this like shtick, he gets in the corner, he acts like he's going for Kinshasa, and runs right by AJ Styles into the other corner like he's not going to do anything, and then runs back and hits him with a Kinshasa. And then he does like, I don't know, his version of the Stone Cold thing, where he gets down, he's laying on the mat really close, face to face with AJ, and really taunting him after the Kinshasa. But it worked. It worked really well. And I really liked it. So after that, yeah, backstage with Charlotte, Becky, and Asuka, and they're talking about these three unbelievably untalented women, referring, of course, to Carmella, Peyton Royce, and Billie Kay. And, of course, Charlotte's like, don't worry about it. We got this. And then comes the match with Xavier Woods versus Sheamus. This is the first time Sheamus has been on SmackDown. And he's going up against Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods put on a hell of a match, honestly. He's running around everywhere. I was really impressed. Of course, at the end of the match, the other two members of New Day get involved. Cesaro gets involved. And with all the distraction, Xavier Woods gets the win on Sheamus. And I was really surprised that they did that. I'm a big fan of Woods. A really big fan, actually. I think he's great in the ring. I actually think he's the best part of the New Day. I really do. He's the best talker that they have. One of the best talkers on SmackDown, to be very honest. He's highly entertaining in the ring. He's really athletic. He's surprisingly athletic, honestly. So the guy's a double threat for sure. I don't know why he's not higher on their roster than what he is. I really don't. But having said that, it is Sheamus' first match on SmackDown. I do like Sheamus too. He's honestly one of my favorite big men. And I was really surprised that they had Xavier go over. I don't know that it's a bad choice. I did not like the match because of it. I'm just surprised that they went that route. So, good match and surprising end. And then you get a backstage segment where you have Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville of Absolution. They're now on SmackDown. And they come into the office where Paige is, and, you know, they're talking about, hey, when do we get our shots? When do we, we're Absolution, we're going to get bumped up, right? And Paige is like, no, you're going to have to earn it. Absolution is dead. So that put the nail in the coffin for Absolution. Because, let's face it, without Paige, there is no Absolution. And Paige, unfortunately, with the injury, it's just one of those things. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens between those two girls there. If they're going to stay on as a tag team. Well, they don't have a women's tag team division, really. But maybe they'll stay as a team. And then you get the final match, which is Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Asuka versus Carmella, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce. You can imagine, for me, this was very one-sided all the way through, and it was. Becky Lynch, Asuka, and Charlotte had to carry the match, of course, because you have three incredibly not talented women, and they... Not only do you have one of the least talented women as the women's champion, but now you have three of the, like, literally the three worst women on the women's division roster are main eventing SmackDown this week. My God, dude, that sucks. I'm glad that Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Asuka are in the main event. I do not think Carmella is deserving. I do not think Billie Kay is deserving. And I do not think Peyton Royce is deserving. Not in the main event. I'm sorry. No. So that decision right there alone really takes this show way down for me. You have a lot of main event caliber talent. I know you don't want to use AJ Styles and Nakamura every week. I don't like the idea of putting somebody this terrible in this spot. I don't agree with it. As a wrestling fan, I certainly don't like it. So, you know, the match was what it was. Three women carried three other women. And eventually at the end, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Asuka get the win. At least they got the win right this week, because they've had these other idiots going over the actually talented wrestlers for far too long. For the last few weeks, and it's just made me ill. So, not a bad show, but a very weak ending. A very weak ending because you have three of the least talented people in the whole damn company in your main event. That was terrible. That was a terrible idea. I don't know who thought of that, but Jesus. So, you had some high points, you had some low points. I think I'm going to give it a right in the middle 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 I think is solid for what this show was, because while there were some things that I very much liked, there were some things that I very much did not like. So, one of the big things I could say as a statement is get those three talentless hacks off my fucking TV. And that would make me a lot happier about the product. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Kaged Nation out.